to read it. How to 5x your return on transactions by leveraging the customer flywheel. Now I'm curious, like I want to see the customer flywheel, dude. But
All
anyway,
right, go ahead,
where do we start?
All right. Well, let's start right here since the theme of today is retention. And can you see my screen? First time on.
Not yet, but we will. Hold on. There it is.
Perfect. All right. So this is just general benchmarks across several industries for client retention rate. And you can basically see where our industry stacks up. If you walked into Shark Tank and pitched your business model and said, we retain 10% of clients, they would kick you right out of the room. Those retention numbers are miserable, yet that is the average for our industry. What that basically means is 9 out of every 10 of your clients on average will work with a different agent the next time. So if we want to increase our retention, we have to solve the question, how do we retain more of those clients so we get either more referrals, but also in particular, more repeat business? So let's first just define what a customer flywheel is, a client flywheel. I'm going to show it to you, but instead of looking at our business as a linear client relationship, just taking them along a transaction process, we need to look at it more in a circular approach, a customer-centric approach that emphasizes repeat business. So what does that look like? On the right-hand side here, you see a customer flywheel. Now, whenever you acquire a client, you have a thing called CAC, customer acquisition cost. That's a typo right there. It should say cost. And then you have a thing called lifetime value. How much are you earning from this client? So if we have a $500 acquisition cost and our cost of sales, aka our split, is 50%, and on the first sale we make $10,000, the average agent is bolstering a 9x return on investment. They spent $500 to acquire the client. They paid out half the split. They netted $4,500, assuming no other costs. A top performer, on the other hand, recognizes that this transaction, this client, could offer 4 more transactions. And if you just look at property value appreciation trends, on average, it's projected, properties are projected to appreciate 4% per year for the next 5 years. On top of that, if we catch a first-time home buyer, they're going to be a move-up buyer. So each sequential commission on average will be higher than the first one. But for 90% of agents, they're only capturing the first transaction. So top performers that capture all 4 sales will be looking at just under a 70x return, and they'll be netting $35,000. From that relationship, again, still assuming they pay out 50% splits. So how do we adjust our business model and we look at our business in terms of a flywheel? So again, we acquire a client and we have that first initial transaction. Let's say it's a purchase. One of the core challenges is that on average, especially in today's market, because so many people are locked into a home, the lock-in effect, because they have a low interest rate, preventing them psychologically from wanting to move. So on average, it would take around 7 years before this person would sell the house. What we're going to see is those numbers are going to increase. In our core market in Maryland, we've been at this well before COVID. It was 11 to 14 years. And that's because people are moving to the market to raise families. So how do we retain that relationship over 7 to 10 years? That's a really hard thing to do. So the second transaction comes here when they sell that house, and 90% of people, 90% of agents are not capturing that transaction. So what do we do in the meantime? With us, and which is I hinted at before, which is where the mortgage relationship comes in, we recognize that person will likely refinance 3 times while they're living in that house. So our clients get access to no-cost refinances, which helps them lower their cost of living at no out-of-pocket cost to them. And every time we do one of those at Moxie, we tell the client that we're only doing it because they worked with that agent. It's a benefit to them, so they get all the credit. So from a company perspective, when we make our initial sale here, we include several different benefits and guarantees that makes it more likely that they will sell that house with us. And on top of that, we're monetizing these transactions as well. So this client within 10 years roughly is worth not just 1 sale to us, it's worth 5 transaction events to us. and then we domino those to get additional referrals. So if you can figure out how you can capture and monetize more of those transaction events in a way that helps you maintain that client relationship, your ROI will increase dramatically. But the average agent only looks at it as a single transaction. You get a client, you sell their house, they never think of them again.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, so I'm already seeing what you're doing here, which is, by the way, great. So people pay attention to this, because what Robert is focusing on is making sure that the agent, you, me, we understand all of the possibilities of the lifetime of the client from the very beginning. And then my next thing, just because I know Robert, he's probably going to tell you, or he's thinking it, is like, this is how we now train and help the agent so that they can get there. Because if you know Robert and how he's shown us all these different things, he's always trying to improve the agent so that they can double, triple the amount that the average agent does. So I love that you did that, man.
Yeah, absolutely. So then the next question would be, when we make that initial sale, what do I mentioned our commission rates are much higher. So how are we delivering more value to be worth that higher commission? And then we think about it strategically. What do we want to provide that makes it more likely that they'll want to come back to us to do business? So in any business whatsoever, your biggest handicap is the price. I think we just lost Tristan. It's just me now.
No, we're good.
All right, cool. The price you charge limits the value you can provide. If you were charging nothing, what could you really provide to the client that would be, financially sustainable? The converse, with the flip side, would be, if your price doubled, what else could you provide? What else could you provide that would differentiate yourself from the competition? So as soon as you determine the price you want to charge and then think backwards to how you're going to be worth it, all of a sudden you can introduce a lot of different things that makes it more likely that they're going to want to come back to you to sell that house. So that's how we approach it, and why our agents, you mentioned the training. Yes, our agents go through a 5-day training on the buy side, a 5-day training on the sell side. It's one of the best, I promise you, trainings you'll go through. It's not just real estate specific. We take everything from different industries, bring it back into real estate. So our agents change their mindset and how they approach their business.
Do you do live training, recorded training, or a combo of both?
Those are all live. We do recorded trainings for different aspects, but no, I run these trainings every month. Our top performing agents take the training multiple times. We have one agent who would be in the top 1% of all agents nationwide. She took the training 3 times in a row. Her average commission more than doubled. She increased her take-home income by over $500,000 in less than 12 months. So she's taken it 3 times. So yeah, so our top performers see so much value in the training that they're willing to take 3 weeks in a row to take the same training over and over again.
Got it. All right. So then what would you think, what would you say for your company? And you guys do amazing nationwide. What would you say has been the key component to retention and growth for your company?
Of agents or clients?
Well, let's go with agents, and then let's go with clients. What about agents?
So our home brokerage in Maryland has the highest retention rate in all of Keller Williams. And we've intentionally designed things so that our model, again, we're not a general brokerage in how we operate, because we're not trying to just recruit head numbers like Josh was talking about. We're very focused on the specific kind of agents that wants to be a high producer. So when you get an agent that is producing at that level, how do you retain that person? That's the person we're trying to retain, not the person that's trying to do 1 transaction a month, if at all. 70% of agents didn't sell a house last year. What value are they to us? And I don't mean to be, crass, but from a business perspective, if they're not producing, they have no value to the business.
All right. So then let's go with that really quick. Just sidetrack. If you're targeting agents that are producers, what's more important to them? Because you're trying to attract them, right? They're your avatar. What's more important to them versus those that are maybe newer or not producing, they've been in it for a while. What's the biggest difference you've seen, and why can you retain the top producers?
It's a great question. And I don't mean to mention him now that he's off the call, but it's interesting because Josh and his brokerage, again, he's a general brokerage. We're more of a team in how we operate. We have very different models. So we're not trying to be everything to everyone. We're trying to pick one or a couple things that we can do better than anyone. And so our value isn't in everything that we offer. We want to offer a couple things that we do better than anyone. And we want agents to see value in that. And so what we've concluded, and again, we've learned this just because over the years we were going tit for tat with one of the top Long and Foster, bankrolled by corporate, going back and forth. We would add a service, they would add a service, and vice versa. And so we just kept expanding what we offered, all the different benefits, all the services. And as a result, costs increased, margins decreased, and we are offering so many things, and it didn't correlate, with an equal perception of increase in value. In other words, people buy not because of everything that you offer, they buy because one thing is worth it to them. What did we want our one thing to be? Our one thing that we wanted to be was that agents on our team, in our organization, make more money per transaction than anyone else. If we can train you to be worth more, part one, and then part two is to be actually paid your worth, that's our unique selling proposition. It's not that we offer all these benefits or all these services, although we do offer a lot. It's that we'll train you on how to use those and then train you on your sales approach and our systems to be worth a lot more. At the end of the day, agents want to make money. So if we can show them how to make money with less investment of time, aka leverage, that's our thing. So I would say, to put it concise, our one thing is teaching agents how to get leverage, which means for each unit of input, they're getting twice or three times as much out.
I like that response, man. Very good. All right. Side note again, I got a great question here from Jared Beth. Would it be possible to hear some of the topics you cover in each set of training?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can actually go on YouTube. I gave a TED talk about 6 months ago, which was a 15-minute summary of our VIP buyer level 1 training. And so we train our agents on the 5 ways to differentiate themselves. We train them on how to approach, for example, things about pricing. We train them on how to present pricing to maximize earnings. So those are just a few of the nuts and bolts from that level 1 training. And that's just on the buy side.
All right. So I have a question. Now I'm curious. Training agents on how to leverage, how do you keep them accountable, or do you not really need to keep them accountable because you've chosen those people that are already producing at a higher level and they keep themselves accountable? What have you found?
In Maryland or with our other partners?
Let's go with Maryland because you have such a high retention rate there.
Okay. Well, again, if we can help them have an epiphany and realize that we want the same thing, we want them to make as much money as possible, we're showing them a road to how to get there. So if they want it, if they buy into the vision of making more per transaction, there's not really any, push and pull. Whenever I go into a market center or give a presentation, I always hit them with this nexus statement, something that kind of brush them back. And you can very quickly see who in the room is going to be like, show me how, I'm going to do this. And then you'll have other people that are always like the naysayers. They're like, oh, it's not possible. Here's the one. It's not possible in my market. My market is different. My market is unique. They're looking for all the reasons why they can't do it. We've typically set those to the side because they're ultimately going to need to see other people doing it in their immediate vicinity before they adopt. We put all our emphasis on the people that are like, hands up, show me how. And I can tell you, we're doing this all across the country. And a lot of our best performers in the program are people with no experience because they don't know any different. We have 2 kids in Ohio. When I say kids, I mean kids.
Wait, how old?
19 and 20 years old. Okay.
Dang. Okay.
One of them's in college. He sold 21 or 23 homes in his first year in real estate. 7 of them he sold while he was studying abroad in Greece. This year, his average commission has nearly doubled. Another guy, he's a 19-year-old kid. He has over 20 listings right now, and his average commission, again, is nearly twice market average. So you have a 19-year-old kid that's making way more money than agents with 10 years of experience in the industry that say it's not possible. Yet they're showing it is possible.
I like that. So that means the training works. By the way, what's your YouTube channel, man? Because I've got you on YouTube like multiple times in different places, so I don't know which one to link.
That one's actually on Keller Williams one. Let me go ahead and
is that the dictating your worth?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
I got it. I found it.
Okay,
All right, I'll share it right now.
Yeah, beautiful.
Let me put it into the chat, everyone, so you can see this. All right, so 2 more questions for you, Robert. You're wearing a Moxie shirt. How does that lending arm help with retention for the members of your organization?
So from the agent perspective, it's a critical part to helping them make more per transaction. We offer them unique value and guarantee pieces that they're able to present as their own value. So like right now, we're about to roll out a promotion for Moxie paid 1-0 buy downs for our agents' clients. So if you're competing against another agent and you can offer a 1-0 buy down at 0 cost to the agent, everything else that agents tend to offer, like on the list side, for example, oh, I'll throw in this marketing piece, or I'll spend this amount of money on that. That comes out of your bottom line. What can we offer that doesn't cost the agent anything, but helps them achieve their end outcome? So everything that we try to do are different value pieces that don't increase the cost of sales for the agent, but increase their net profit. So from the agent perspective, Moxie is an integral part to helping them maximize their commission, make more money, and retain clients. For example, right now we're doing a refinance for a client. This client got turned down by 27 other lenders. We were able to get them into a home. We're refinancing them right now at no out-of-pocket cost to them, and we're going to get their payment down nearly $500 a month. That savings is because they worked with that agent. How much more valuable, how much more appreciative are they that they chose to work with that agent? And then from the team leader perspective, it has additional income opportunities. They can actually apply to be an employee of Moxie Mortgage, which I'm proud to say that 100% of our partners participate in. And so that becomes another piece to helping our team leaders make more per transaction, is by monetizing each transaction, not just on the real estate, but mortgage. And then we also work with our partners to set up their other partnerships, title, insurance, home warranty, moving companies, that kind of thing.
Got it. Do you have an avatar for the agent that you want to attract?
For the real estate side, we do. So it's either an agent or a team that's doing at least 200,000 of GCI annually. And then very importantly, they want to make more money and they're willing to charge a higher commission.
Got it. I like that you do that. And by the way, like I could totally tell that that's your avatar, right? That's good.
Yeah, I mean, again, people are entitled to having different mindsets. If they don't believe, and we see this all the time, and we wish them the best of luck. Some people don't think it's quote unquote fair to charge a higher commission. That's fine. Yeah. We don't believe that. We believe our pricing credo is that we believe you should charge as much as you can for your services. You should never charge more than they're worth, but you must charge a lot more than they cost. So we need to check all 3 of those boxes. Most agents just never even think about their pricing, which if you think about any other industry, there's always segmentation in the market. There's people that are willing to provide a different level of service in exchange for a different price. You have attorneys that charge $200 an hour, and you have attorneys that charge $2,000 an hour. Is that fair? Who cares? If someone's willing to pay $2,000 an hour because they're facing criminal charges and they want to make sure that they don't go to jail, who wouldn't think spending $2,000 an hour is worth it if you don't go to jail?
Yeah. Way over that. All right, let's switch over to the consumer. What do you guys do that works really well for you to retain the consumer, right? Because you're you in comparison to our last interviewer or interviewee was he's running the brokerage, he's running his company. You're doing both, right? You're not only helping out agents going direct to them, but you're also with the consumer. So when it comes to the consumer, what does the retention plan look like?
First, a big portion of our business is generated by the company, and that's where we put an overwhelming share of our focus. That's where we want to have a vested interest in retaining the business. So in our organization, agents have complete privacy over their SOI. We don't have visibility of those leads. It's incumbent upon them to retain the leads, and we give them the playbook, the same playbook that we do. On our company side of business, we have a full inside sales team that's run by the former director of the inside sales agents at Rocket Mortgage. So we put a huge amount of investment into that program. We increased revenue year over year by 7 figures last year. So we're very focused. If we acquire our client, what do we do to, again, retain that client and monetize it as many times as possible? Introducing the mortgage component to it has led to a dramatic increase in not just our conversion of buyer leads, but also our retention of those buyers, so that we're capturing the refinances, maintaining the relationship, and then staying in the loop to help our agents capture the list side. When someone comes and every month we'll send them a full equity report, a full mortgage analysis with different market statistics and also different calls to action. If they click a call to action to request, quotes around a HELOC, or to, looking for an assessment of what it would look like to buy this as an investment property, we're obviously going to pull the agent back into the mix as soon as the conversation bridges over into a real estate transaction. So an average agent is going to try to put them on a 36 touch and just send messages and say they're doing their work. It's not just enough just to send content. It has to be something that's truly valuable to them. And so the mortgage side has been really valuable for us in maintaining that relationship, sending them the market reports, sending them the home equity analysis, and then also giving them a forum to ask questions about the financing side, because the financing conversation also often pops into the mind before the real estate side comes in. They're always wondering if they can afford it. What does this mean for their monthly payments? So they're often going to come to us or their loan officer before they have the conversation with the agent.
Isn't that interesting, man? They have these questions before they're typically getting to us, and if we answer them, then we get the privilege of helping them.
Yeah, and often in the absence of information, the client will assume the worst. They don't think they can afford it. Yeah. And then they don't think they can afford a home that's worth that much. And so as soon as we help provide clarity around that, now they realize their dream of buying this next home or moving into this community by the next school year, even though they didn't think they could afford that price point, now they know they can. Now they're motivated. We just helped a client this week have that epiphany, and now they're super motivated. They want to be in that community within the next 60 days. So now we're able to pull an agent back in with a pre-approved buyer that's motivated to buy a home within the next 30 days. So they're moved in before the school year starts.
I love that. All right. I'm going to throw a curveball at you because you played baseball. Okay, so you're prepared. This is Rocket. This is their plan, right? You've seen this pitch deck to their investors. This is May 2025. It's no surprise. They have it out there. You reminded me of this when you said that you, with the whole Moxie thing, it's allowed you to connect better with the database. And so I want to know how you guys are planning to fight off or differentiate yourself from Rocket and everyone else who's coming after us, because just with this piece of the deck, they're saying, hey, look, the cost is $40K. We can split that in half. Look at all the fees you're going to be getting, right? But if you come with us, Rocket, Redfin, Mr. Cooper, servicing, loan, title, we're going to save you money. How do you anticipate going up against this?
Yeah, Rocket, give props where it's due. They've made some acquisitions in the last 12 months that are extremely strategic. Opening up their servicing arm as well as their acquisition of Redfin, they're seeking to, again, cover all processes of the transaction. Our competitive edge is the way in which we're set up and operate. So we beat Rocket's rates by over a point week in and week out. In fact, you can subscribe to our weekly rate sheets where we compare our rates for the week to Rocket every week. Rocket is a direct to consumer retail lender. So they have all the overhead, the brick and mortar. They have so many middlemen in the process, and they have all the marketing spend. All of that stuff drives up rates. So Rocket's making these acquisitions to try to lower the overall cost to the consumer. If they do all of these things, they're trying to solve the fact that their rates are so much higher and trying to spin it in a way that looks more valuable to the consumer.
Yeah, you'll save here, you'll save here, you'll save here if you just put it all together, right? The key component I thought to, let me see if I can go back to it. The key component to how they're going to work this. Here it is. I'm going to share this with you because I think you guys are already doing this with Lofty. All right. And well, you and I both. This is the piece that they kind of share a little bit of their secret where they're saying, look, we're going to do the origination, we're going to do the servicing, but in the middle, let me see if I can zoom into this one. In the middle, look at what they say, 83% recapture rate driven by industry best AI-powered client experience, right? Now, we see what they're doing. We know that most agents, because we work with agents, are really terrible at following up. You mentioned it earlier. Everyone throws them into this, what is this, 30 touch plan that means absolutely nothing. And then we end up losing them because we're spamming them, right? Mm-hmm. Rocket sees this and they say, hey, look, we're going to actually train our AI to connect with people. So how are you going to fight against this using Lofty, obviously, but how?
Yeah, we have a really good relationship with Lofty. I've had numerous calls with their project management team as well as using as their CTO about what we're doing on the AI and also bouncing ideas back and forth. One of the things that Lofty does extremely well is take the end user's input. So, I've gone as far as creating documentation of what we think would be a really good use case, and then they've mobilized and developed it very quickly for us. AI, of course, the technology itself can differ in how effective it is. But at the end of the day, you can have an amazing AI system and no data in it, and it's not going to do anything for you. So what we preach to our agents as much as possible is to feed their database. As much information as they have with clients, feed their database so that as Lofty continues to improve the quality of the AI, it has better and more information to work upon. You don't want to get 2 to 4 years down the road and AI in Lofty is so good and you've done nothing to feed the model. You've put no updates in the system. You've logged no calls. You've put in no pertinent information. So we're really religious on the information that we put into our system. Whenever we close out a file, we're feeding the system with as much pertinent data on that client and their transaction. On the mortgage side, we put all their financing details in there so we can leverage different things. And then we're also folding in different AI pieces on ourselves, building out our own queries, our own models, so that we can have different triggers. And then we have our different AI bots that engage with the data that's in the system. I can give you like one specific example. You could have a general language model that sends out a text message with a very nondescript message like, hey, are you still looking to buy? And maybe it'll strike up a conversation. But on the other side of things, maybe you have a language model that engage with pertinent data to them. Hey, I see that your interest rate is at 7.25. I see that you have $250,000 of equity. Or I see that you have $50,000 of credit card debt. And then you're able to offer different personalized solutions to them that are truly valuable to them. They could do a cash out refinance, or they could do a HELOC to consolidate debt. We're helping a client right now do that, refinance to eliminate a whole host of over 6 figures worth of debt some of which was in a bad spot. So we're going to be able to cash out, refinance him. We're going to be able to increase his credit score by at least 100 points and then refinance him again through a streamline to get his payment down to where he wants it. So within 6 months, he'll be debt free aside from his mortgage. He'll have no negative marks on his credit report, and he'll have a payment that he's looking for and a rate that he's comfortable with.
I love that. You're making the communication custom to where they're at. And I think that is the key. That is
all right. Yeah, you have to meet your client where they're at. I mean, if you look at effectiveness of just, you could do this test market through emails or just text message blasts. If you send out a very generic message, or let's give you an example. Let's say you're doing a commercial and your hook and your offer is very general. You're going to get a much lower response rate. That's why, Rocket, to their credit, again, they make incredible investments on technology.
Yeah, they do.
And they're trying to assemble as much data as possible so that they can personalize those messages to increase response rates, to increase pull-through rate.
Very true. All right, people, how do you get a hold of Robert? Robert, what's your email, buddy? I had a few people ask, who is this awesome dude? What's up with those baseball bats? I'm just making the last one up, dude. I just threw that out there. There's Robert Lucido at lucidoglobal.com or Robert at moxiemortgage.com. If you're part of the Lofty world, you'll see him quite a few times. He trains, he teaches. We do some webinars together. So, Robert, thanks for helping out with Josh, man. I appreciate you.
Yeah, last piece, just so Lofty also runs our mortgage side as well for our technology. So we run everything on the same system. So if you're looking to drive conversion rates, especially of buyers, if I asked the audience a question, would you rather get a cold internet lead or would you rather get a lead that's already pre-approved? It's a pretty obvious answer. So when we have inbound leads, our inside sales team is pulling in the loan officer to pre-approve them on the phone so that we can live transfer it to an agent already pre-approved.
Yeah, that makes it a lot easier.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks for having me, guys.
Appreciate you.